Morning, everybody. Morning, everybody. Morning, everybody. What is going on? I don't know what that whisper was in the beginning. I wasn't ready to say good morning. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Wednesday, January 21st. Lakers in the midst of an 8-game road trip. Got off to a great start yesterday. Got some really good topics based off of some good basketball yesterday. Some good basketball last night. You know, sometimes I think you might watch a game and squad might get a W, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily good basketball. Yesterday, we got a lot of good stuff that we can kind of talk about today. Obviously, start of a road trip. Lakers come back home. Got the Clippers coming up tomorrow. They got another game Saturday, I want to say, in Dallas. So actually a lot less games than they've had in the previous week. They had 5 games last week. They have 3 this week. So it always kind of figures out a way to balance itself out. Appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for being a part of the show. If you guys don't mind subscribing to the channel, we'll greatly appreciate that. Cheers to you. Hope everybody's enjoying their cup of coffee. Coffee number 2 for me right here. This is a good cup of coffee. All right, Al, what'd you put in it? Nothing. Just straight fuel. That's all it is in the morning. That's all I'm looking for in the morning. All right, let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show. Then I will take a look at some of the comments here. Definitely got a hot or got a lot that we can hit on. So looking forward to hitting on a bunch of different topics here. Big win in Denver last night. One of the angles I'd like to take in talking about last night's win, I don't think it's a regular win. I think how they played, my biggest question is going to be, can they do it more often? Is there a reason why they can't play like that more often? I'm going to talk about offense. I really don't even care about what they did offensively. I'm talking about what they did defensively. Now, you could obviously make a ton of cases here, and I'm sure if there are people that want to look at last night's game and say, oh, that wasn't a big deal, I get it. No Nikola Jokic, but I think for the Lakers, if I'm being completely frank, I don't even really think it matters how they get some W's right now, get those wins. But the biggest thing to me is I thought they played the right way, and definitely if they can do that on a more consistent basis, then they're going to be stacking up more wins and maybe taken more seriously in the Western Conference. So we'll talk a little bit about the win. We'll talk about playing more consistently. Is there a path for the Lakers to play that type of style of basketball on a consistent basis? We'll hit on that as well. We got a Reaves update, and I think it's a very, very positive Reaves update, and we're probably within the timeline, so I guess we shouldn't be too shocked about it, but we got a Reaves update, and I'm going to be throwing people some questions here because I got to be honest with everybody. I don't know how much Laker fans kind of appreciate Austin Reaves, to be honest with you. I think every time he's brought up, it's more about putting him in a trade package or getting rid of him than actually seeing what he can do with Luka. So anyways, I got a Reaves update, and then we'll get a little bit more detailed on part of the conversation we're going to have about Austin Reaves. There was an article this morning. Haven't talked to him in a while, but when I was at ESPN, Baxter Holmes, I'd run into here and there, not often, maybe a couple times a year, and did not know he had this article coming out, but a really, really good article about the Buss family and kind of how they ended up selling, and whether that was it sounds like, reading the article, and I think we've seen this before, that wasn't the goal probably of Dr. Jerry Buss. He wanted in his perfect world, he wanted the Lakers to stay within the Buss family, I'm sure, for generations. It didn't get very far. What Dr. Jerry Buss passed away in 2013, and handful of years later, 10, 11, 12 years later, they're sold. Some interesting stuff that came out of that, and I think proposes some questions of how did the Buss family actually do once Dr. Jerry Buss passed away. More Laker rumors out there. There was some rumors out there because the Lakers have done some deals with the Brooklyn Nets in the past. Maybe there's a relationship there. By the way, I do believe in franchises that have worked together that really don't care how one franchise does or another. I do think you can kind of have some repeat business there. So we'll hit into that. Latest in the rumors front. Got some NBA news stories, and then we will call it a day. Let me take a look at some of the comments here, hear what people got to say here in the morning, and we can go from there. Buenos dias, Slee, just joining during the rat race this morning. Usually is, right? Usually is. I'll be glad when Reaves comes back so we can see which Reaves is legit or not. Okay. AR, come back. We need you. Okay. A lot of good mornings here in the chat. Good morning to you guys as well. This is what I meant. Some people are not going to give the Lakers any credit for yesterday's win. I won't be one of them. I'm also not going to be telling you that the West runs through the Lakers. All right. Let's get another one in here. With the latest report on the Bus family drama, Mr. Walter will install himself as governor sooner than the 5-year expectation. Coffee is extreme. This, of all the comments I've read so far, it's the only one that matters right now. Coffee is extremely sweet this morning. I have a thing that I do. By the way, I appreciate you guys being here. We're going to get the show started, but I have a thing that I do. So typically in the morning, I just have a black coffee. That's it, right? And then I'll try to starve myself until my body's like, I need to eat something. You know, the intermittent fast. I try to do that whole intermittent fasting. Sometimes it works until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Other times it's 9:15. The show just ended. I'm like, I got to go eat something. But I got a thing where I like different type of coffee a little bit later in the day. A little bit later in the day, maybe I'll throw a little milk in there. Maybe I might even steam some milk. You know, change it up a little bit. All right, let's get the show started. Appreciate you guys being here. Like I mentioned, a member show coming up this Friday at 10 a.m. I hope you can join that member show. Got some updates on a few things. Look, for the members, we do it a little bit differently. For the members, we're not just breaking down Lakers. We're talking about the channel. We're talking a little bit of business. I'm getting some suggestions for them. Friday, got a couple updates from the last member show that we had. So please consider being a member. It's $3 a month. Great way to support the channel. Okay, so last night, Lakers beat the Denver Nuggets. Now, I could just sit here and tell you, all right, they beat Denver, and let's kind of move on. Who cares? Not that big of a deal. I'm not going to do that because I do think there are some things that I walked away from that Lakers win that is a big deal. And not all wins are created equal. And I think for the Lakers, they're kind of in this, I would call it a little bit more unique situation or unique position where every time they get a win, it feels like they look great. Every time they get a loss, the world is going to collapse and the Lakers look awful in the process. That's kind of, if I'm being frank with you, that's kind of Lakers basketball right now. And that's been the case for the Lakers for about the last month or so. The reason why last night to me is not just a regular win is because I thought the Lakers played the right way. I mean, there were some things that happened yesterday that for me, my hope is at the end of the day, there's a little bit of consistency that they could take away from last night's win. If you want me to be negative real quick, let me be negative because I know a lot of people are going to have this view. Let me find a pessimistic view on last night's game, and then let me give you my view, which is more of an optimistic view. The pessimistic view would be simple. They beat Denver without Nikola Jokic. And oh, by the way, Christian Brown, Jonas Valanciunas, and almost said Michael Porter Jr. and Cameron Johnson. Okay, that's fine. That's a fair point if you want to say they're missing a lot of their key players. No question about it. Lakers gave up 70 plus in the first half. Let me tell you why last night was a bigger deal to me than just a regular game. It was a bigger deal to me because anytime the Lakers can get a win against a team over 500 on the road, whether all their players are available or they're not, you got to take it. It was a big win to me because if you go look at the standings, if they'd have lost yesterday, they'd have been 7th in the Western Conference, but now they're 5th in the Western Conference. I know we still got, obviously 40 games left to go or so, and not every single game is going to be the determination of where you're going to be in the playoffs, but these games do matter. And it shows you how tight the Western Conference is. San Antonio lost yesterday. Obviously, Lakers beat Denver. So now you're just as close as to the number 2 seed as you are to the number 7 seed. You're kind of right in the middle of that. You need wins like that. But more importantly to me yesterday than anything else of why I take away a lot of positive things from last night's win against Denver, they played defense. They had a little bit of an identity. There was an article in The Athletic that highlighted the Lakers win, and it said something to the effect of strength in numbers, as in not only did the Lakers win, but they did two things yesterday that they are so wildly inconsistent in trying to do. Number one, they relied on their defense to get a win. And number two, strength in numbers. They didn't depend on one guy. I know Luka's got the monster stat line. I get that. The 38, 13, and 10. I understand that's a monster stat line. But if I'm being completely honest with you, most of that damage came in the first half. I mean, most of Luka's offensive numbers from, his stats or his statistics, most of that came in the first half. So there was a little bit of an identity yesterday for the Lakers that I think every Laker fan is hoping for. I think there was a little bit of a, hey, wait a quick second here. Let's just stop for a quick second. I thought Stu Lance said something yesterday during the broadcast. He said something that if you can play this kind of defense in the second half and you could start locking down teams and everything else, well, you can do that in the first half as well. You can do that over 48 minutes. That has not been the Lakers. And their calling card hasn't been defense. And it's really their only path to having any shot of being interesting this year. And it's their only path to making any noise in the Western Conference. Can you get stops or can you not? We know that Luka's a killer and can go out there and drop 50 a night. All right, you're still going to get losses if that's ISO basketball, if that's kind of the game plan of outscoring teams. But that wasn't the case yesterday. And I thought a lot of players kind of individually stepped up. Maybe they don't jump out on a stat line. I think always we look at a stat line, a box score when the game's over, and it's like, all right, well, what'd LeBron do? 19, 9, and 8. All right, that's kind of LeBron. Give him credit. Only took 15 shots, made 8 of 15. Now, LeBron had way too many turnovers, but obviously LeBron was good. Well, Marcus or DeAndre Ayton was only there for X amount of minutes because of his injury that he had. But I thought Marcus Smart was really good for the Lakers. I thought Jackson Hayes was really good for the Lakers. I thought Rui Hachimura looked kind of as good as, I know he didn't shoot well, but activity-wise, confidence-wise, I thought Vando gave the Lakers good minutes. I thought Drew Timme gave the Lakers good minutes. So what I liked about last night's win is they played defense and they didn't rely on one player. Now, again, I'll preface it by saying when the best player in the world is not playing for the Denver Nuggets, of course they're going to look a lot different, but it was two different halves. I don't care whether they got the best player or they don't. If you're giving up quarters and halves of 36 points total, then you did something right. And I thought Lakers did something right last night. So let's give them all the credit in the world. I mean, you guys know how this works. If Lakers lost that game, everybody would be bashing them. Everyone would be saying, look, they can't even beat the Nuggets without Nikola Jokic, and the Lakers keep falling in the standings. And every time they get a good win, they get a bad loss. Had the win, obviously, on Sunday against the Toronto Raptors. Well, last night, Lakers won. They won on the road, and they came back and had a game where multiple guys contributed and they played defense. I'm going to give them credit. So it's up to you guys, whatever you guys want to do. But I'm going to give the Lakers credit for last night's win because not only was it needed, but they played the right way. So that's kind of my quick overview. If you want the full details of that post-game show, we did it obviously last night. It's up there waiting for you guys on the channel if you guys want it. But kind of me walking away from part of the story of last night's game has a lot more to do with that. Phenomenal second half. They played defense and they had multiple guys contributing. That could be a little bit of a winning recipe right there. All right, I'm going to read some of the comments here. I'm curious to hear what everybody's opinion is. Here's the question that I would ask, and I don't think any of us have the answer to this, which is why I'm going to ask the question. Are they capable of playing like they did last night on a consistent basis? Or is this just kind of one of those teams where one night they'll show up and they'll get your hopes up. Another night they'll come back and it won't be there. Or if you're playing a full team that's healthy and it's in the Western Conference, it's one of those top 6 teams, 7 teams, whatever you want to call it. If they go up against competition like that and they're healthy on the other side, then the Lakers will eventually fall apart, and it's not something they could do on a consistent basis. So there's a question I'm going to propose to everybody, and you guys feel free to answer that as you'd like. For me, if I'm trying to answer that question, and I'm trying to be completely honest, I think it's still no question about it, up in the air. I have no idea if the Lakers can do it on a consistent basis, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend. that they can because they beat Denver without Nikola Jokic. The only way I think they can start showing if it's something they could do on a consistent basis is they got to be we got to watch basically a couple of you got to see 10 games of this, right? You got to see almost a month of this to say, hey, I think they turned the corner. Hey, I think they actually can kind of change a little bit of their identity. And I don't think you can do that over the course of 24 minutes of a half. Granted, they did it against Toronto too in the second half, primarily that fourth quarter. And then, of course, like I said, what they were able to do yesterday in the second half. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's start reading some of the comments. Let's just start coming at me right out the king. Slee, you're coming off like you're minimizing Luka's performance and exalting LeBron's. LeBron's defense on the block was horrible as usual. Reverse the numbers, and you would be praising the king. No, I'm not minimizing Luka's performance. I think Luka, you just kind of come to expect that he's going to be brilliant and that he's got a lot more things that are positives than negatives. One of the things that I wanted to see a little bit more from Luka in the first halves and specifically the first quarter is can he get others going? Can he start being a little bit more of I could get mine at any time, but let me get everybody else going. Last night, that didn't happen. He got most of his in the first quarter. He got most of his in the first half. But Lakers didn't win because of Luka's performance or LeBron's performance last night. Lakers won because they played defense. So you're right. I'm not going to kind of go out of my way and praise Luka and praise LeBron. What I'm going to do, like I did from the beginning here, is I'm going to praise how they won the game. They won the game because they got stops. They won the games because they played defense. They won the game because Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, Jackson Hayes, Drew Timme, Rui Hachimura, because multiple guys, you felt their presence in the game last night. That's why they won. I mean, I think that one is fair to say. They won that game because of that. They didn't win the game. Again, Luka had monster numbers. Most of those numbers were coming in the first half. All right, let's get a couple more comments here. They have not showed any form of defensive consistency. Might lose to the Wizards in a couple of days. Yeah, they play the Wizards in about a week and a half on a Friday. I can't argue this. I really can't. Like I'm not here to tell everybody. Here's what I will tell you about Denver yesterday. Denver basically had one real offensive weapon, and that was Jamal Murray. And what makes Jamal Murray so great when he plays with Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon and, Cam Johnson and all these other players that they have and Christian Brown, what makes Murray so great is you can't key in on Jamal Murray. Lakers were able to key in on Jamal Murray yesterday. So their defense was able to suffocate one player. And by suffocating that one player, the whole thing kind of collapsed for the Denver Nuggets. And it collapsed like that. I mean, it didn't take long for that thing to collapse. That second half, you could start seeing it's like they're going to come up with a plan B. And I didn't feel like I mentioned this yesterday in the postgame show. I never felt like Denver countered with anything. It's like Lakers threw their best punch defensively. They threw their game plan. It was kind of like, we're going to stop Jamal Murray, and Denver never really countered. Lakers now have the blueprint of how to beat a good team, but without their star player. It's kind of funny. And I'm assuming here you're being sarcastic here, and I don't blame you being sarcastic there, but there is a little bit of that. They know how to beat a team without their best player. Luka is an offensive machine. That's half the game. Luka is likable, but defense wins chips. Yes. Yeah, and if I'm being honest with you, I do feel like I'm starting to get a little bit more comments. I saw a couple of them yesterday in the postgame show. It's like, hey, you never give Luka any credit. I mean, I don't know what you guys want me to do. What do you guys want me to do? You guys want me to just kiss everybody's ass and that's the analysis that you want to give? Obviously, I can't do that. I hold Luka to a standard because he's a superstar. You hold LeBron to a standard because he's a superstar, not the same superstar as he was. He's 41 years old. You hold Austin Reaves to a different standard because he's one of the key players for the Lakers. You hold Ayton to a different standard because, he's got the potential to be a really good player. Not every player is created equal. Not every player is created equal. I think that one's fair to say. Okay, let's give a quick shout out here, and I'll read a few more comments, and then we'll kind of switch gears here, talk a little bit about Austin Reaves. Harris Resort SoCal. I'm there in a little bit over a week. Next Thursday, I'm going to be there. I got a couple of meetings set up with a brand new partner. Guys, this is a phenomenal, phenomenal partnership. It's a great resort located in Southern California. I highly encourage you guys to give Harris Resort SoCal, give them an opportunity. If you're looking for a staycation, maybe the family wants to go somewhere. Maybe you and your partner or a couple of friends are thinking, hey, where can we go for a couple of days? Go to harrissocal.com. Start planning your getaway. You're within an hour to 2 hours of anywhere you are in Southern California. And it's just a phenomenal resort, a phenomenal property. I'm looking forward to being there for a couple of different reasons. For me, obviously, it's just great for the show to have some different talking points and everything else. But I'm going to do my morning show from there a week from Friday. I'm going to the Andrew Santino. Um, uh, I think I've mentioned this a couple different times. A comedian next Friday night. I'm going to be there for that. So I'm looking forward to being there. And like I said, it's a great, great partnership. We got a cool package that we're going to be giving away on the show soon. Still kind of working on the details of what it is, but trust me, you guys are going to be very, very excited. If you're out here in Southern California and you want a phenomenal trip to a resort, trust me on that one. So it's going to be a fun partnership. Really looking forward to encouraging listeners, if you're looking for a getaway, to try to get out to Harris Resort SoCal. harrissocal.com, harrissocal.com. Shout out to their partnership. And thank you to, of course, iHeart AM 570. It's kind of part of my entire partnership that I got going on here. All right. I got some Austin Reaves news. And then I'm going to come back to some of these comments. Let me see what we have here. Let me see what we got here. Okay, let me give an Austin Reaves update real quick, because this is big. This is some really, really big news around the Lakers. Obviously Austin Reaves was dealing with that calf strain, and anytime you get those words together, that could be worrisome. Before the game yesterday, here's the update that we got, and I'm going to read this directly from Dave McMenamin. JJ Redick says Austin Reaves is progressing well and will return to the lineup sometime during the Lakers' 8-game road trip. Some good news for the Lakers, who have been without Reaves because of a left calf strain since Christmas. All right, 8-game road trip. Lakers, obviously, we have kind of a good idea that some of the teams that they're going to be playing, we know that they're back in LA February 5th, which is the day of the trade deadline. So they'll be back here the day the Lakers play the Philadelphia 76ers on February 5th. And if JJ Redick is saying he's progressing well and he's going to show up at some point in this 8-game road trip, maybe it's towards the end of the trip, maybe it's whatever the case is. And if I'm looking at, I'll actually do this right now. I want to see some of the dates here that are up there that we can have a little bit of an idea for. So this is the Lakers schedule that's coming up. They got games, Clippers, Dallas, Chicago, or let's say Clippers and Dallas takes us through this week. Let's say he doesn't play next week as well. That's Chicago, Cleveland, Washington, and New York. Maybe comes back that February 3rd Brooklyn game. That would be the last game of the road trip. Maybe comes back a little bit earlier. February 1st, be great to have him against the New York Knicks. That might be the anniversary of the day Lakers got Luka, that trade for Austin Reaves, or I'm sorry, that trade for Luka and Anthony Davis. The big news here is that we're actually starting to have a dialogue and a conversation of when Austin Reaves can come back. And frankly, if I'm being honest with everybody here, still 10 games over 500, have won 2 games in a row. Things were starting to look a lot more bleak after that loss to the Charlotte Hornets. And now all of a sudden, or actually it was the last loss was against Portland. It was Charlotte and Portland. and now starting to get some positive news about Austin Reaves. Can I be honest with everybody? I don't know how most Laker fans actually feel about Austin Reaves back in this lineup. I think he's such an important piece. And I think people have a difficult time kind of isolating where we are today to what they want to happen to Austin Reaves in the future with the Lakers. Let me tell you what I mean by that. A lot of times when Austin Reaves' name comes up, all I hear is, yeah, but Al, you can't pay him that much. All I hear is, yeah, but Al, Luka and AR, that backcourt ain't going to cut it. Or all I hear is, you got to trade him right now while you feel like he's got some high value and trade deadline coming up, or we'll see what happens by the time summer comes up. You know what I don't hear often when it comes to this is just my interaction with Laker fans. And if you guys think I'm wrong here or you disagree, then put it obviously in the chat. What I typically feel like I hear anytime Austin Reaves, anytime his name comes up, I feel like either people are trying to trade him or they're trying to tell me that he doesn't work with Luka. By the way, you could be accurate on both of those comments. Nobody's saying that he's the perfect fit for Luka. And nobody's saying that, hey, if you can't go get an all-star caliber player in the league that complements Luka's game rather than in the backcourt with him, then you should consider that. I don't think that's crazy to consider all options with Austin Reaves. But you know what I don't hear a lot of? I don't hear a lot of what Austin Reaves brings to the table. I don't feel like I hear a lot of the type of asset that Austin Reaves is for the Lakers. I don't think I hear a lot of, I can't wait for Austin Reaves to come back to have a better idea what this Lakers team is and what their true potential can potentially be, I guess you could say. I don't hear that a lot. I knew this, and I'm sure a lot of Laker fans knew this as well. When Austin Reaves got that injury during the Rockets game, and they said he's not going to be reevaluated for another 4 weeks, which was the 25th. And, you know, we're coming up here. By the time this week is all said and done, we'll be 4 weeks in. We'll get a little bit of an update. And we got that update, obviously, last night about him potentially returning. But I don't know how much I think Laker fans either appreciate what Austin Reaves brings to the table, or it's not that they don't appreciate him, but they just don't think he's a long-term solution for this team. And they're already in their mind, they're already sold on this guy's got to go. He's not going to fit, build around Luka. And I can't sit here and tell you that you're wrong, but I'm excited to get Reaves back. I mean, I was watching the beginning of this season, how Reaves was carrying the Lakers and playing all-star caliber basketball. And I'm excited to see what it looks like when he does come back with all the flaws that the Lakers have and seeing if there's a way Lakers can, you know, obviously potentially add some type of a 3-and-D player. What can they add before the NBA trade deadline and see what this run looks like? I'm very curious to see how Austin Reaves can change the dynamic for the Lakers or take them to another level or make Luka's life a little bit easier or play with LeBron James during stints of the game and Luka can get a little bit of rest or take a little bit of pressure off a 41-year-old that you never hoped you had to expect big things from in his 23rd season in the NBA. I'm hoping for all that. So I think this news about Austin Reaves coming back or getting closer to coming back is big news for the Lakers. But the vibe that I've got around Austin Reaves, most of the vibe that I've got, I haven't read the comments. So, obviously, once I start reading them, I'll have a better vibe here. But most of the vibe that I've got around Austin Reaves has not been this excitement to get Austin Reaves back. It's more been about, well, how the hell do we get rid of Austin Reaves so we can make some, room for other players? All right, let's see what we got here. Let's take a look here. We'll start looking at some of the comments and if you guys kind of agree with what I'm saying here, or if you are excited to see Austin Reaves back. I'm going to kind of go back a little bit once I started this. Let's see what we got here. Lakers should use the Mavs run to the finals as the blueprint. Okay. They got a ways to go to put that roster together, but listen, I don't really disagree with you. I mean, what did the Mavs have in their finals run? Very simply put, what did they have? They had lob threats. They had defensive big men. They had 3-and-D players. And they had also a dynamic backcourt with Kyrie Irving and Luka. But they had some depth. They had a lot of good things that were specifically tailored around Luka. We've had this conversation. We'll have it again. That's going to be the Lakers. Every move they make has to be with that in mind. Is a move for whatever player that you bring up, is there a move out there that makes sense to build around Luka? That's the only thing I should mention. And Austin Reaves should be taken into consideration, but Austin Reaves can also potentially be used to help you build the team that you need around Luka Doncic. All right. If you're not using him as a scapegoat or have a clutch sport agenda, you recognize how valuable Reaves is. I don't know if fans realize how valuable he is. I think their value and how they see Austin Reaves is what can you get for him, which there's value there because he is, I mean, technically, take Luka out of the picture. He's the biggest asset that the Lakers have. He is. He's the biggest asset, which, you know, if that's the biggest asset that you have, then you have to be very, very selective of what you do with that asset. All right, let's see what else we have here. Reaves is good for the right price. He's not max contract nice. And I think this is where people can't, it just continues to kind of get separated. People can't separate what his contract could look like by the summer to what he is today and what he can be for the Lakers. I think people can't really separate how Austin Reaves can help the Lakers and what can you get for him in return if you traded him. I think it's all kind of lumped together, which I think there's some, I understand that to an extent. Construct the roster accordingly. Luka lost in the NBA Finals because he self-imploded. I think Boston was just better. They had been knocking on the door for years. They had a lot of players, wing players that can stop a guy like Luka. I think there were a lot of reasons why they lost. All right, let's get some more here. Austin Reaves' value right now, clear 35 to 40 million a year starting next year, fine with me. That's what he's going to get too. That's what he's going to get. And if I'm a team out there that's trying to pry away Austin Reaves from the Lakers, I mentioned there was a story out there that the Utah Jazz will be a team that tries to go after Austin Reaves. Oh, I'm paying whatever I can for Austin. I want to try to grab Austin Reaves. I think I can make him one of a kind of a franchise cornerstones of my team and my roster. Now, listen, that doesn't mean you're going to go win a championship, and it also doesn't mean you if you're going to truly win a championship, he's probably got to be the third best player on your team, on your roster. But I'm trying to find a way to get him, and I think if the Lakers nickel and dime him, which I don't think they will nickel and dime him, maybe to an extent they're going to try to get a little bit of a family discount because Austin Reaves wants to be a Laker. But for the most part, he's going to get his money. Those aren't Laker fans. Those are LeBron or Luka fanboys that most likely don't even live in LA. No, I disagree. I think there's a lot of Laker fans who are cool. What can we get for Austin Reaves? Get this guy out of here. This guy's got to go. By the way, I'm reading some of these. Austin, a keeper. All right. Austin can't defend. Said it before, the Lakers should target Kelly Oubre this summer. Okay. Reaves, Luka backcourt is the best offensive duo in the NBA. Just need to put defense around them. That could be their vision, by the way. Slee, because we get exposed by good teams with exceptional defensive players. Okay. Fair point right there, too. That one's kind of hard for me to argue. Before Reaves was big, I was like, man, that guy's amazing. He hustles. Now he has a crazy bag. Reaves, LeBrick. Maybe that's also kind of part of what's changing the dynamic with the conversation with Austin Reaves is when you got him at 13, 14 a year, you're saying to yourself, oh, yeah, awesome, phenomenal guy. But now if you got to pay him 35 or 40, all of a sudden it's like you can have a beautiful car, but if your payment is $800-900 a month, it's like, you know what? I'd rather just go Why did I had that car was already paid off. Why the hell did I go get a new car? Who am I trying to impress? Now I got an $800, $900 payment per month. Doesn't mean it doesn't run well. Doesn't mean it's not beautiful. It just means it's expensive. All right, let me get a couple more in here, and then we'll keep going. I want to get into this story that came out on ESPN today about the Lakers. Reaves better not full. This is a good observation too, and I don't think I've mentioned this enough. There's probably some Laker fans out there too that also left with a bad taste in their mouth about how Reaves did in the postseason. Healthy, not healthy, whatever the story was, he didn't deliver in the postseason, and there could definitely be some pieces there where it left fans with a bad taste in their mouth. I get that. I understand. By the way, I think that's fair. I'm not going to sit here and try to argue that. I think that's a fair criticism when it comes to Austin Reaves. Was yeah, Al, but how about in the playoffs? He didn't show up against Minnesota. That's a fair one too. I don't think I could really argue that one. I think that's a fair point right there. Okay, I don't know if you guys got a chance to read this article in well, let me just say this before we get off the Austin Reaves news real quick. It is big news that he's closer to being here than further. It is big news when they do get him back. You're going to now have the ability to really, really kind of pick and choose some of your lineups. And if they're completely healthy, now you could start asking the question. And clearly now they're just going to have more depth because they're going to have more players that are available. But now you could start asking the question, okay, do you go back to your original starting lineup? Is Rui Hachimura there? Are you keeping Jake LaRavia there? You got options. Jake LaRavia had a great opportunity if he comes out of the starting lineup to have played some key minutes for the Lakers. He has time with Luka, time with LeBron. Drew Timmy all of a sudden coming out of nowhere. Vando finding ways to be impactful. My point is that they're going to get some depth. They're going to have some more options. They can play lineups that are a little bit more offensively focused, defensively focused. For the first time in a while, JJ Redick is going to have more in his arsenal to work with. So let's get Austin Reaves back, and then they could figure out everything else after that. So I think it is good, and I think it's big. And obviously having any positive story about Reaves getting healthy is good news for the Lakers. So we'll close it on that one, and we'll keep moving on here. So I wake up this morning. I go to ESPN. I'm kind of jumping around. I usually go to a couple of different websites, and I'm starting to look at some different Lakers stories out there. And to be honest with you, at this stage of the season, most of the stories that I'm looking for, all right, what are the latest trade rumors? Is there a front office exec, or are there some insiders out there that there's some new news on the Lakers in regards to the NBA trade deadline, what their strategy is, and everything else? No. The main story around the Lakers this morning was a story on ESPN from Baxter Holmes. Probably came out, I don't know, a few hours ago or whatever the case is. You should have never been born. The Buss family feud that led to a $10 billion Lakers sale. And it's got kind of these characters, if you want to call it. It might even be real pictures, but it's kind of animated a little bit. It's got Jeannie in the middle. It's got Dr. Jerry Buss. It's got LeBron. It's got the Buss, brothers. It's got a number of Kobe's in the background. And it's talking about the Lakers sale. And it's starting to kind of get into as many topics as they can possibly find in regards to, well, what the hell happened? How did the Buss family how the Buss family infighting drove $10 billion sale of the Lakers? And it kind of, it took me to a couple different areas. One area it took me in was, how do we kind of assess how the Buss family did in ownership since Dr. Jerry Buss was out? I'll tell you this, and you guys can give your opinions and your thoughts on this. And I've said this before. I do think the Lakers are much better off being sold and ran by Mark Walter. And I gave Jeannie Buss a lot of credit because I think when they did make that sale, one of the things I wasn't surprised about was Jeannie was selling the franchise. She was leaving the franchise in good hands. That if it wasn't going to be owned by the Buss family, She cares about the Lakers brand. She cares about the Lakers future. She cares about the Lakers history. She cares about what they mean, not just to LA. The Lakers are a much bigger brand than just one city. Laker fans are everywhere. Go look at how many fans were there yesterday at the Denver game. Go look at that game Lakers had against Portland. Go see when the Lakers are in Atlanta, Toronto. Go see their global presence across the country, across the world. Um, the Laker brand is obviously that's a big time brand. There's only a few of them. Manchester United, the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Yankees. There's only a few brands that are this powerful. Lakers are one of those brands. I wasn't surprised that Jeannie Buss sold the franchise to Mark Walter, who I think most people would say the guy is going to get this team in the franchise. He's going to move them in the right direction. It's just going to eventually, it's just a matter of time until you start looking at the Lakers like, hey, they're competitive every single year. Maybe it takes 2 years, maybe it takes 3 years, maybe it takes 5. I don't know the answer or when it's going to come, but I do think there's going to be a time where you're like, hey, that organization dots its I's, crosses its T's. It makes sure that every detail is valued. Article goes into basically what happened to the Buss family. And I encourage you to go read it. It's a very, very long article, but the family, let's just say, does not speak very highly of Jeannie Buss. There's a piece here, one of the Buss family members. This is from Jamie Buss. She told ESPN she felt disappointed, disrespected, like a crumpled up piece of paper thrown into the trash. The Buss brothers, we know, Jim and Johnny, when they were let go recently, we actually no, that was Joey Buss that was a part of that as well. They've talked about how basically they had very minimal conversations over the years with their sister, with Jeannie Buss. Whatever the hope was for Dr. Jerry Buss, that obviously never happened. Whatever the hope was for that team, for him and his family to own the team for years to come, that never happened. I kind of, if I got to look back here and I got to look at the ownership group of the Lakers since Dr. Jerry Buss passed, I had a lot more frustration with that ownership group than thinking that they knew what they were doing. My biggest issue, and I think I could be a little bit more specific with Jeannie Buss here. It was just way too much of a family-ran business, and I don't think decisions were being made based on merit. Decisions were being made based on how close are you with Jeannie. That was probably my biggest issue with the organization, is they had too much friends and family that were in the building, and I don't think that obviously had the best interest of the franchise and the best interest of winning championships. That doesn't mean she wanted to win. She didn't want to win championships more than anybody else, and they got one in 2020. But at the same time, the franchise was always all over the place. I mean, if I go look back to 2013 to now, I can make an argument that this is the worst stretch of Lakers basketball in history. Now, you also had unbelievable owners with, you're never going to live up to those expectations of what Dr. Jerry Buss did. I mean, that's the biggest thing that hurt the Buss family, is their father was arguably the greatest owner in the history of sports. And of course, they were never going to live up to the expectations that he built, but they were also never close to that. There was a good piece of the article as well that I thought was interesting. I'm going to read this because it said LeBron's relationship with Jeannie and the Lakers, I thought was interesting. There's a piece in the article here, according to Baxter Holmes, that Jeannie Buss had floated the idea of potentially trading LeBron. Holmes added that Buss privately grumbled about what she perceived as LeBron's outsized ego and the idea that Clutch Sports Group, which represented both James and Anthony Davis, was exerting overt control over the Lakers organization. Well, that's going to come with bringing LeBron over. And I'm sure LeBron was saying to himself, I saved your franchise. I'm going to do everything I can in my power. And that's kind of how LeBron operated. And frankly, I don't blame LeBron. he had that much power. And really, the only time LeBron's power was cut was just most recently when he didn't get another contract extension. And for the first time in LeBron's career, he's going to be a free agent this upcoming season. And nobody really has any idea of what he's going to do. And nobody really has any idea of what the Lakers are going to do when it comes to LeBron. But that piece of it as well, I thought was interesting in regards to her relationship, like I said, with LeBron and the ego. And there was a time where she's like, should I just trade this guy? So it kind of gives you a little bit of a backstory, and it gives you some of the details of how the Lakers got in the position they did and then decided that they needed to sell. But clearly, all of the family members, the siblings, everyone was on different pages. Some people wanted to sell. Some people didn't want to sell. Some people had one vision. Other people had a different vision. But when the dust settled, I mean, the way I've kind of read this entire time is Jeannie Buss, she took care of herself. She tried to take care of the franchise moving forward by selling to an owner that I do think will be a big asset to the Lakers and will bring success back to the Lakers on a consistent basis. But in that process, yeah, I don't know what her relationship's going to be with her family. So there's a lot to take away from the article. I mean, if I give my thoughts on the Buss family as they've owned the Lakers, and somebody that covered the Lakers, this is my 10th year covering the team. Obviously, you guys know whether it was a Lakers show on ESPN or my time around the organization and everything else, and still obviously time around the organization just based on being games credentialed and everything else. The franchise was all over the place. They were. And my biggest beef, I would say, is what this franchise never did. I thought over the course since the Dr. Jerry Buss passed away, they didn't go hire the best in the business to go handle the business in regards to president of basketball operations, coaches, scouting, everything else. There was a lot of it that just felt like, well, it's family and friends, and that's who we have associated with us. I don't think that's always the best solution for a healthy business. And I think the Lakers kind of fell into that. Did they have some success? Sure, they did. But I don't think anybody's going to look back and say, hey, when Dr. Jerry Buss passed away, the siblings took over and they ran a pristine franchise. Nobody's going to say that. That's just kind of the reality, right? Nobody's going to have that opinion or thought on it. I think there's a lot more opinions about the Lakers where they were either waiting for the day to come that the franchise would sell, or ownership would kind of cut ties with saying, we want family and friends around us. We just want the best in the business. And I don't think that was always the case with who they had in regards to the front office and everything else. That's why, by the way, there are questions about Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka didn't get the Lakers job because he was the best president of basketball operations out there or the best basketball mind out there. Pelinka got the job because of his relationship with the Lakers and his relationship with Jeannie Buss and, of course, his history with Kobe. Well, that's why when you start talking about what is the history or what does the future of the Lakers look like, will Mark Walter make changes to the front office? What's it going to look like a year from now, 6 months from now? That's why Pelinka's name comes up. Or JJ Redick's got to continue to prove himself because Mark Walter didn't go hire JJ Redick. That's coming from Jeannie Buss and her crew. So it's what's going to make the future for the Lakers look a lot more interesting. Maybe things kind of stay as is for the next couple of years. I've said this before. I think they're going to give Pelinka, and I think as they should, you got to give this guy at least this trade deadline, at least this upcoming summer, give him another full year and see, okay, is the franchise moving in the right direction? Give JJ Redick another full year. Is the franchise moving in the right direction? And then they'll, probably make whatever changes they feel like need to happen from there. Interesting article. Really, really interesting article in regards to kind of what happened to the Buss family and how the whole thing just got broken apart, and whatever Dr. Jerry Buss's initial plan was didn't go as planned. All right, let's read a couple of these here. What's his name? Mark Walter. He has his work cut out for him. Spurs, OKC, Houston, and Denver are not going anywhere the next 4 to 5 years. I don't think anyone's going to shy away from the competition. I think the Lakers are actually in a pretty good spot. By the time this season's all done, they kind of have a blank canvas with Luka, and they could kind of figure out what they're going to do from there. I think the bigger thing for the Lakers and the most important thing from the Lakers, can I grab somebody from the Spurs or from the Thunder or from the Rockets or from Denver that's part of their scouting team or that's part of their front office? I think that's where the Lakers are going to be able to throw their weight around. What an owner with deep pockets has the ability to do in today's NBA is I don't need to go recreate the wheel. Who are the smartest basketball minds in the NBA and in the world? Can I offer them an unbelievable amount of money to leave the franchise that they're currently with and come join the Los Angeles Lakers? That happens with a lot of successful businesses. That's how they throw their weight around. It doesn't just have to be a free agent. It doesn't have to just be a player. It's your front office. That's where I think Mark Walter is going to have his biggest impact. And that's the problem I had with the old ownership. Old ownership, it's like, are you hiring the best basketball mind or are you hiring your buddy? Typically, it was their buddy, I thought. I've been working with the ultra wealthy for years. All this sounds normal to me. At least she sold to a good ownership group. That's what I'm giving her credit for. I think and I'm not surprised by it because I do think Jeannie Buss cares about the Lakers' future. Where a lot of other owners, it's like, I don't care who the hell they sell to. I want to make the most amount of money. I think for Jeannie, it's if I'm given the equivalent, if I'm given the comp or an example of Jeannie Buss is selling her home. Jeannie's not selling to the highest bidder. Granted, the highest bidder was probably going to be Mark Walter. Jeannie was, yes, I do care about how much I sell this house for. But are they the right neighbors? I know all the neighbors around me. I just want to make sure these are the right people that are going to move in and it's not going to disrupt the neighborhood. She kind of did that with Mark Walter in the group. All right, let's see what else we have here. The bubble championship is not a chip. It doesn't count for anything at all. Relax, man. Jeez. It's like 5 years ago. You still care that much about it? My God. Take a deep breath. Go grab yourself a cup of coffee or maybe a little less coffee. All right, either way, I know I've heard people say that before. Relax. This guy's losing it here. I'll go take a shower or something. All right, let's see what else we have here. Mark Walter saved the Lakers. If I'm being honest with you, you could be right on that. Every successful business starts with good ownership. And every bad business, if I'm being honest with you, also starts with ownership. Slee speaking facts. Dr. Buss, one of the best sports owners ever in all sports. Totally lose me when you say you don't blame LeBron. The Lakers are bigger than LeBron, period. Well, I'll help you. Let me get you back here. If you say I'm losing you when I say I don't blame LeBron as in flexing his muscle. Brother, LeBron doesn't have power with the Lakers because he thinks he has power. He has power when ownership gives him power. At any time, Jeannie Buss could have said, listen, you're an employee for the Lakers. You are not the Lakers. And the brand is bigger than you, and it will always be bigger than you, and it will be here once you retire, and it was here before you even got here. The problem is with the Lakers and a lot of other teams that LeBron was on, maybe you could only make the case that in Miami with Pat Riley and Mickey Arison, their ownership group, that they never really allowed LeBron to completely flex on the franchise and the organization. But yeah, LeBron had power with the Lakers because the Lakers gave him that power. They didn't have to, but they probably thought it was a good business move to give him that power. So don't be mad at LeBron for flexing on the Los Angeles Lakers for years. This is the first year that he's not able to flex anymore. They got Luka. Luka's the future. He's 41 years old. He's got an expiring contract as well. Oh, I'm not mad at LeBron for flexing. I don't blame LeBron. If you allow him to flex, he will flex. and he flexed for most of his career and most of his time with the Lakers. I can't wait till LeBron leaves. Get fried every year in the playoffs. Right. You want to make a case that Luka and AR aren't going to work together. You could definitely make that case. Nobody's guaranteeing that's going to happen. But that does not mean that I'm still not looking forward to seeing Austin Reaves come back for the Lakers. All right. Good stuff there. Good topic. That, and this was the thing that I think sometimes this happens, right? You start a show or you're getting ready to start a show and you're prepping. And then out of nowhere, you get a topic like this or a story like this that comes out of nowhere, and it's kind of certainly a fun show, or it's certainly a fun topic to hit on. Okay, I got some NBA news that I want to start hitting on. I got some more Laker rumors I'm going to hit on. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Best injury attorneys in the state of California. Serious injury, wrongful death case. Unfortunately, things like this happen in life. I wish they didn't, but they do. There's a way to protect yourself. And there's a way to kind of put yourself in a position where you talk to an expert, which is exactly what you should be doing. I don't know the legal business. I'm not an injury attorney. I know Brad Wallace is, and I know he's one of the best in the business. If you run into a situation yourself, a family member, a friend, please go to the website, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. If you go to that website, he can at least guide you, a free consultation. You could start the process of being in good hands. He'll have your back. He'll do everything he can for you. And he's a loyal, not just listener, a loyal Laker fan, loyal to the channel. And trust me, he'll be loyal to you as well. wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. All right. I got a couple things, some Laker rumors here that I'm just going to kind of go through. It's impossible every single day right now to not talk trade deadline until the deadline is over. Here's the latest that's out there. This was a random one, and I understand the connection. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'll just make the connection here. I saw an article, and somebody was making mention. I'm not going to get too much into it, but I'm just going to give you just a little bit of it. There's an article out there that the Nets and the Lakers could be potentially working together. Well, why would they work together? Well, they've already worked together in the past. Dorian Finney-Smith, we obviously know when the Lakers made a trade for D'Angelo Russell. I think there is some truth here in regards to franchises that have some comfort in working together to work together again. Sure, absolutely. Seen that in baseball, seen that in the NBA. So I don't think that this is a crazy conversation to have, that maybe the Lakers and the Nets continue to work together since they've worked together in the past. Here's where I would disagree. I see Michael Porter Jr.'s name come up. I find it difficult for the Lakers to find a way to get Michael Porter Jr. on this team. Now, maybe with what happened with the Golden State Warriors and Jimmy Butler being out for the rest of the season, maybe Michael Porter Jr., there's more options for him to go to different teams, but clearly a champion, somebody that understands his role and can be helpful to any team out there. I still think the Lakers, obviously from a defensive perspective, you're not exactly getting a true 3-and-D player. That's not Michael Porter's DNA. Not that he can't have good defensive possessions, but that's not his true DNA. I saw another piece out here, again, in regards to the Brooklyn Nets, Nick Claxton as a potential trade target for the Lakers. Obviously one of the better rim protectors in the NBA. So just something to keep in mind there. So those were really, other than those two that I saw, this one was that it's kind of dating back here too far. So I don't want to go too far back, but we've heard the same names, the Gaffords, some of these other guys that have been associated with the Lakers, but I really didn't see anything different. The only difference I saw in trade rumors, like I mentioned, was that maybe the Lakers and the Nets continue to do deals together, which wouldn't be a complete shock or a surprise to me for some of the reasons that I mentioned. So something to keep in mind in regards to trade rumors. That's some stuff that's out there that's a little bit different from what we've been seeing in the past. A couple of different names, and I see that connection obviously tying in. All right, I'm going to read some of your comments here in just a second.
Let me get into a little bit of NBA news as well. Some games last night, good games last night. I watched basically the whole first half of the Houston Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs. How about Houston coming back and winning that game? Really an impressive win for them. Suns win again. They're playing some impressive basketball. Clippers lost yesterday. Lakers got the Clippers coming up tomorrow. Okay, tonight, here's what we got going on in the NBA. Any good games? I haven't actually even looked. Cavs, Hornets, all right, maybe a little bit there. Thunder and the Bucks, if you want to sell me on that one, I guess I have semi-interest. Not that many great games. Pacers and the Celtics, Nets and the Knicks. I know the Knicks are struggling. They've lost 4 games in a row, so nothing too crazy on the NBA front as far as games tonight. I don't know if you guys saw this story. The Golden State Warriors, Mike Dunleavy. Here's what he said. Mike Dunleavy, the president of basketball operations for the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, the devastating Jimmy Butler news in regards to tearing his ACL, out for the season. He was asked about plans for potentially moving Jimmy Butler. He said, I don't envision that. Now that you've brought it up, I'd say my vision for him is to give us boost next year the same way he did last year when he arrived. I got no idea what the Golden State Warriors are going to do, what's going to be their vision moving forward. But damn, how ruthless would that be? Trade Jimmy Butler now. We'll see what eventually happens. The only other real NBA news that I saw that I'll just spend a quick second on, Jalen Brunson calling an all-players meeting to fix the Knicks. What's going on in New York? What's going on with the Knicks? They're 2-8 in their last 10 games. Sheesh. Got booed off the floor when they played their last game against the Dallas Mavericks. They were down 75-45 at halftime. That's a way to get booed. Yeah, if you're looking to get booed, just perform, be down by 30 against a team over 500 or below 500 at home. That's a way to get booed. All right, let's read some of these comments. We're going to end the show reading some of these comments here. LeBron won one of the most important championships in Lakers history. Anyone else getting that 2020 ring after tragic passing Kobe would be a travesty. Yeah, here's the issue I have with people that say the bubble championship doesn't count. If I said there's 3 or 4 teams that had, let's say COVID never happened and they're never going off and playing in Orlando at basically a hotel convention center ballroom, right? If I said, give me the 3-4 best teams in the NBA before COVID, Lakers were one of those teams. Lakers, Clippers, Milwaukee are the 3 teams that kind of jumped to mind right out the gate. Miami obviously ended up getting to the finals. They had a fantastic run, and that just kind of shows how good their franchise is. But to make it sound crazy that the Lakers won the championship in 2020 is honestly, it's absurd. It's stupid. Go look at where the Lakers were before COVID. They were one of the best teams remaining in the NBA. They just were. So if the Clippers would have won it, or the Lakers would have won it, or Milwaukee would have won it, or Miami would have won it, I'm just using Miami for the purpose that I mentioned, or Denver maybe would have won it. There was only a handful of teams that were really good enough to win it. Lakers were one of those teams. So I get that it wasn't your traditional championship, but can we not pretend like the Lakers came out of nowhere and they weren't a good team? Getting rid of LeBron doesn't help us. It's just the most Lakers hate the guy. We're still garbage without him. We're like the Celtics of the 80s, just a bunch of white guys wandering around. I got no idea what some of these comments are. Lakers will be fine. They'll be fine. Their entire franchise has always figured out a way, and they just sold to an ownership group that is doing some special things on the baseball side of things. You know there's going to be a commitment to winning. So I think if you're asking me whether I think the Lakers will be fine after LeBron, I do think they'll be fine. I think they're actually better off once they could kind of end one chapter and really start building off a new chapter off a 26-year-old in Luka. All right, let me read this one here. Thank you for the super. Kobe died before the bubble. LeBron promised to deliver and did. 2020, LeBron won. Lakers 2020. Not real Lakers fan if ungrateful. Yeah, I mean, obviously, that time for the Lakers, one of the more, I don't know, it will be probably go down as the most shocking moment, most devastating moment in Lakers history. Thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's see if we get a couple more here. See if we got anything different here. The best. Some of these comments just the best. Okay, let me give a couple of comment, or let me give a couple ideas of what's going on for the rest of the day tomorrow. Today, nothing else. The only thing we're going to have is Sammy's going to have his preview video of the Lakers and the Clippers. That will come up later tonight. Tomorrow, I'll get my show started, obviously, 8 a.m. again. Adam Oslin, who does the pre and the post game, also does some in-game commentary as well for the Clippers and the Clippers broadcast on AM 570. He's going to join the show. He's going to help preview the Lakers and the Clippers. So we're going to be doing that. Looking forward to that with Adam. So he's going to join the show. And that's kind of what we got coming up here for the next day or so. No game tonight for the Lakers. So we'll just get that preview video ready to go for Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers. Solid $1.50. Thank you for being, hour and 6 minutes. Thank you for being a part of the show. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Member show coming up this Friday. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I will see everybody tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thank you, everybody.